I'm going to show a relatively easy way to cut these rock type of tile. I have to do this in a shower floor. I work with this. This is shaved rock as opposed to, there's a product out there called River Rock, and it's literally pieces of rock that have humps and bumps and all that stuff, and it's like putting rock, it's like walking on outside. People think that for whatever reason it's going to massage their feet, and I can tell you from first-hand experience with bare feet on River Rock, it's not a fun experience. The shaved rock is all flat, and I like it. I don't know that I would do it. It's more of an aesthetic thing. But the problem and the conundrum people get into is showing lines, because if you look on here, there's everything fits in here like a puzzle. And if I take one of these out, you see that? So when I put it back in, you'll see that it just kind of comes back together because of the puzzle pieces, but they're not all created equal. There is a method to the madness that they put these in, but the idea is that when you put the 12 by 12 squares together, that you shouldn't see any lines. And sometimes it's more problematic than some material that I've worked with is more problematic than others, and it also depends on the color grout. So if they had a really contrasting grout on here, which they're not going to have, then you would tend to see the lines a lot more. And this is a relatively good product, because even putting them together dry like this, I'm not seeing any lines. And I always on a shower floor suggest, no matter what it is, even if it's this, that you do a dry run. So I've done dry runs with this before, but it's usually literally inside of the shower. And it's kind of hard to do because you see the little bump outs of all the pieces of rock, and all these bump outs matter when you're trying to do a dry fit up against all of your edges and everything. So there's a couple ways you can handle that. You can actually shave off on a wet saw. You can shave off and make a straight line and then just bump that straight line up against it. Two problems with that. One, this mat is kind of flimsy. Just a little bit of water on there will make these rocks fall off when you try and get a straight line with your wet saw. And because it's flimsy like that, you're not going to be able to get a really nice straight line. Plus you're adding water to the mix, and then you're going to have to wait for it to dry before you can set it, because the rocks are obviously real rocks and they're very porous. The biggest problem that I have with trying to get a straight line is you don't know where the straight line is, because there's no parameter to show you where you're straight. Like this bumps out more than that, but that's bumped out, and that is too. There's no way to get a straight line. So the alternative, and one of the easier ways to go about dry fitting this stuff without driving yourself crazy and deciding to pick another tile altogether, is to do a measurement. So I've already done my measurement from edge to edge, from the furthest edge I'm going to be tiling to the longest edge that I'm going to be tiling. Knowing that measurement matters to me, because now I can put my level up against these and know that I have, this is going to be the end of my shower. These larger rocks are going to be the end of my shower, which looks like there are three of them. There are three of them. So that's kind of a straight line. And then these pieces, if this is my shower right now, would be filled in at a later date. Once you have all these mats in here, then you can cut those pieces or take them off from another sheet. So that's how I go about doing that. Same thing, and you're going to need a 6-foot level like I have. So I know I'm pushed up against those two there, and then I have quite a few gaps going on, but I can push this straight because I don't know that all these mats are exactly straight either. It's very hard, as I said, to make sure that they're all straight. But they're as straight as they're going to be, and this is how I would do the measurement. I know I have a 28-inch span from end to end, so I'm going to measure from my furthest point, or here as it were, I'm going to measure 28 inches from the edge of here going out that way. Then I'm going to transfer that mark back here. 28 inches should be somewhere around there, and then over on that side I'm going to transfer a mark of 28 inches from over there, and then I'm going to move my level to those marks, which are going to be there somewhere, and then just run a pencil mark all the way down. I think there's 6 sheets of tile here, all the way down from there to there. those pieces will now be cut, and so they'll be flat up against the wall somewhere, whereas this will be a fill-in piece. So you're only kind of getting wet those last row of tile, which is kind of incidental because the last row of tile are just a makeup area. In other words, probably 2/3 of the tile are going to go to waste. So it's 28 inches wide by, I believe it was 64. So in that same light, and as I had the level on here before, push it up against there, and that's your mark. So it's going to go from there to 64 inches. I'm going to put a mark there. 64 inches, put a mark there, pencil it, shave off those areas, and now I'm going to have it exactly 28 by 64, which is what I want. Now, the most important thing is to mark where each one goes. Now that you dry fitted and know that there's no lines showing, obviously, then each one of these are going to be marked in succession, and you can do it by numbers or letters, it really doesn't matter, but you know this is going to be the back corner, back left corner, so maybe BF for that, and then you know, BF1, and then because it's back, this is going to be the back one, then it would be 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5, and then 6, and in succession. Whatever way you mark it really doesn't matter, as long as everything that you put in here dry fitting transfers into your shower floor. That's the whole point. That's probably the easiest way to go about it. I've done it many different ways, and it's always quite difficult to make sure those lines don't match. So my best suggestion is when you're buying this stuff, and unfortunately it comes in already comes like that, so it's not like you can take them off of here and dry fit them at the store, but my suggestion is that obviously they bought more than they needed, which is good, that you buy more than you need and that you do the dry fit like this when you get home, because even the dry fitting without the grout, you're going to notice the lines. There's no way that you can not have lines in there with some of these tile. This one is a relatively good one. And then the third option, which I would never suggest to anybody, although it's done, you take them all off the mat and you set them individually. So, but you can imagine you have literally hundreds of these pieces that you would have to set individually. And if you're an artist type, that's probably not a bad idea. I've seen videos of people doing that. You'd have to pay me a boatload of money to literally take these off and set them individually, but that can be done as well. So there's just a helpful tip while I'm doing this. I didn't intend on doing a video on this, but since I've done this, or I've done river rock quite a bit, and I've also done this, that's kind of what I suggest. So I will show you, this is a shower floor, and I'll show you the niche that is the same basic product except different color. So this has more of a sheen on it as opposed to the other rock that you saw, and this was already set this morning, so it's setting up so that I can grout it, because you want all that grouted before you set all your plates going around inside of the niche. But same idea, I just cut off the edges. In fact, this one I did a little differently because it just so happened that my niche and my tile were the exact same size, so my center one went first and then the edges got cut off. So I just knew what my parameter was. I think I measured from my largest tile out. I just picked 2 tile basically, and I just measured that distance to there and cut off the excess, same as on the left side. And then I'm able to get symmetrically everything going in the right direction. These smaller pieces are my fill-in pieces. I literally set those by hand because I did have some gaps just like there, but eventually my tile is going to go there, and so it won't really matter. These are fill-in pieces that won't matter either, but if you have the time, go ahead and fill them in. It'll look a whole lot better when it's grouted, and you definitely can't see where the lines were of the 3 different sheets that are in here, and that's the whole idea, is not having those lines just glare out you when you're finished. And also try and use as close a grout as possible. That's going to help a lot. So I think I'm doing a Snow White on here type of grout, so it'll all blend very good. And then on the other one it's going to be like a DeLorean gray, so that'll blend also. And this is a floor that I'm going to be tiling pretty soon. And this is 28 inches going across from under the curb to under the wallboard there, and then 64 with, I think I gave myself about ½ an inch leeway in both directions. So it's 64 1/4, 28 1/4, whatever, but I'm going to cut those tile at exactly the measurement that I gave. And that's it. Hope that helps little tips along the way. And this is the final result. No lines. Of course, when this grout dries, it'll show, if there's any, it'll show a lot more, but that's the whole point, that you figure out your pattern and all that stuff and do your cuts and all that stuff prior to ever setting the tile. Sometimes I actually do set the tile on top and then I dry run sometimes outside, like I just showed you, but normally I don't. Dry running outside is a little easier. I usually try and have a lip going with my tile, but all my tile are slanted down and into the drain. In this case, I can't do a very large lip. It's probably 1/8 of an inch at best going into the drain, and then my grout is tapered down to the drain, and I got to clean off this excess that's on the side of the drain. Yeah, but basically that's the idea. Same idea here. There are 3 sheets, actually 2.5 sheets, and you cannot tell where the sheets match up, and that's the whole idea of pre-planning your tile, mosaic tile, prior to putting it down. Hey, if you enjoyed that video and you learned something, consider being a Patreon member. $5, $10, $15 a month would help me greatly produce more videos. I make nothing from YouTube at all. If you're gonna call me for advice, please donate $50 for 30 minutes. My link to my PayPal and my Patreon account is down below. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so you get immediate notifications as soon as I post videos. And thank you very much for your support.